Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Yesterday, Sunday, we began the day talking about the Clarksville, Tennessee tornado that had happened the day prior, Saturday. And then later that same day, the headline emerged that Frank Wycheck, longtime Tennessee Titan, had died the day prior, Saturday, the same day as the tornado, after falling and hitting his head. And if you watched the highlights or if you watched the NFL games, you saw something happen yesterday in the Chiefs-Bills game that reminded of the Bills-Titans game with the Music City Miracle where Frank Wycheck threw the pass that made the winning play. And of course, everyone knows that if it was in the replay age, the Titans wouldn't have won that game because it was a forwards pass, but it didn't get called. It was technically a forwards lateral because the ball had already been thrown forward. If you don't know the Music City Miracle, look up the play involving Frank Wycheck where they beat the Buffalo Bills. Yesterday, similar play at the end of the Chiefs game. It was a correct pass by the tight end, Travis Kelce, the one dating Taylor Allison Swift, who we just can't hear enough of. But Kelce, who played tight end just like Frank Wycheck, just had a very similar play against the Bills, the same team that the Music City Miracle happened against. But beyond those parallels, again, once upon a time, pre-2013, I used to look at things like this that would happen in sports, news, that just seemed ritualistic and just too closely connected and too weird. It's hard for me to imagine an athletic, strong man like a Frank Wycheck falling down and hitting his head and dying. I mean, anything's possible, but this stuff seems to happen in the world of entertainment and sport and celebrity just way too much. And again, once upon a time, I would have looked at something like this and just been like, there is something else going on there. But now we can literally prove what is going on. And again, the proof comes through the mounting evidence. And part of that mounting evidence is someone like Frank Wycheck dying on December 9th, 2023, a day that we circled in January of 2023 for stories just like this. Again, every single month, there's one day that comes up that we call the kill date, and it's always full of weird stories just like this, celebrity death, destruction. Again, the same day Frank Wycheck of the Tennessee Titans falls and hits his head, deadly tornado not far from where the Titans play in Clarksville, just outside of Nashville. And again, let's put this together. This is what I learned in 2013. Now, Travis Kelce wears the number 87. He had the big play yesterday that nearly won the game, but it got called back on a penalty for an offsides. Anyhow, Travis Kelce wears 87 like a lot of tight ends. Frank Wycheck actually didn't wear 87, but we're going to get to why it matters that the Music City Miracle happened on his 87th day of his age in light of his position and in light of who turns 87 next week on Sunday. Notice, Gematria. If you're new here, this is the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. And people dismiss this in an instant without really thinking about it. Kabbalah is important to Freemasonry. All of the American sports are credited to Freemasons, such as American football is credited to Walter Camp, American baseball, Abner Doubleday, basketball, Naismith. Anyhow, Naismith was technically Canadian, but still in the club. Anyhow, Gematria is the simple practice of coding numbers into words. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4. You turn the letters to numbers and add up the value of a word. So the word tight end equals 87, like the word tornado equals 87. And if you missed yesterday's video in the morning, we were talking about Clarksville being on the 87th meridian and in Montgomery County in light of what happened earlier in the year with an out-of-season tornado that impacted Selma, connected to the 87-kilometer Selma to Montgomery March with Martin Luther King Jr., and how that came right as the MLK holiday was coming. But again, in Gematria, tight ends 87 like tornado, like Clarksville got smacked the day of the tight end's death, Frank Wycheck, Clarksville on the 87th meridian. And notice from Frank Wycheck's October 14th birthday to the Music City Miracle, January 8th, 2000, it was his 87th day of his age, right? And we've been calling this the tight end number for a long time. Seen many rituals with 87 and tight ends. If you're new here, Gematria is very simple, like we just said. ABC is 1, 2, 3. D, E, F is 4, 5, 6, and so on. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Z is 1 back to A is 26. Tight end equals 129. What day did Frank Wycheck, the tight end, die? He died on 12/9, as we write it in the U.S., December 9th. And as we talked about in the earlier video, 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. And again, we're going to get to how this is synced up with the first Jesuit Pope, who turns 87 next Sunday when the Titans play Houston. Again, the Tennessee Titans used to be the Houston Oilers. But 87, again, we'll get to why it matters so much. Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope, turning 87. First Jesuit Pope, first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. Again, 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. The Jesuit suppression ended in history on August 7th, 1840, when we had our lone 201 president, the father of the Constitution, James Madison. Anyhow, the ritualism of this, truly undeniable. You have to be so close-minded to look at what we're presenting day after day and just think all this is a coincidence every day. It's impossible, especially when they're putting out songs like Murder by Numbers, where it's the killing's the sport of the elected, and it's as simple as A, B, C is 1, 2, 3, and Gematria, the killing name, another song that's out there when this practice is coding numbers into words is Gematria. Now, with regards to him being 52, I've talked about this so many times. I'm going to pull up the Gematria calculator. He died at 52. The first act of weather warfare was admitted to in 1952. Okay, the first act of weather warfare, 1952. And let me just do it like this. Most simple cipher. The word flood is 52. The act of weather warfare in 1952 was the Lynmouth flood. Flood equals 52. Enlil equals 52. That's the Babylonian god of floods. Kabbalah goes back to Babylon, so all these things are as old as each other. The word earth is 52. If you look into Enlil, you'll see Enlil has parallels with the devil. Devil's 52. Who's been accused of being the devil on earth? The Pope by many. That he's the Antichrist, the devil. Pope is 52, and again, we're on a calendar named after a Pope, the Gregorian calendar that says today is December 11th, the day I'm doing this video, named after a Pope with a 52-week year when Pope's 52. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Pope equals 56, and we're going to get to how Frank Wycheck died at age 52, 56 days after his birthday. Again, alphabetic order forwards and backwards. The other two ciphers to know are the alphabetic order with numerology and the reverse alphabetic order with numerology. Notice how Frank Wycheck is also 56. And again, this man died 56 days after his birthday. You see how his name's also 128? Think about what his last full day on earth was. It was December 8th. He fell and hit his head on December 9th and died. That's the story. I have no doubt he was hit on the head. But did he fall? Frank Wycheck, December 8th, 12/8, like 128. Frank Wycheck in reverse, 196. The square root of 196 is 14. He died in NFL Week 14. NFL, its season is scheduled by week number, so he dies in Week 14. NFL has that Gematria 14. Football has that Gematria 43, the 14th prime, and that same cipher, Masonic. Anyhow, as we're talking about year after year, these suspicious deaths in the NFL synced up with the Pope, synced up with the Superior General, who's the leader of the Jesuits. In light of the Pope turning 87, if you write out the Catholic Church, it also has that 87. Again, the Jesuit suppression, the Jesuits served the Pope. It ended in history August 7th in the year 1814. They were suppressed in the time of the formation of this nation. And again, a number of founders were worried what would happen if the Jesuits ever came out of suppression. Well, if you wondered how bad it could get, if you don't think it's that bad, well, guess what? You're living under Jesuit control right now. This is how they operate. This is why they're their rituals on their calendar with their English language. Again, look into history. You'll see it all traces back to the Catholic Church, the calendar, the language, all of it. All these things standardized at the same moment in history in the 16th century, the century of the Jesuits. But, yeah, you can read my post at GematriaEffectNews. There's a lot of other very interesting information here that's connected to this. And, again, just so you can see from his birthday to the death, 56 days later, Frank Wycheck, 56, dead at 52. Weather warfare, again, first admitted to in 52 on August 15th, which is the Jesuit order's birthday. The only number I didn't cover in his name was 61. That's a special number for a lot of reasons. In sacred geometry, gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words means geometry and language. In sacred geometry, 61 is the number that represents God. And that's because the flower of life, the key shape that all shapes come out of, is made out of 61 overlapping circles. And in Jewish gematria, the word God is 61. In English gematria, Zeus is 61. So is Jesus. So is cross. So is church. So is Christian. So is Christmas. Special number 61. So that's probably also part of the reason, just so you can see the 61s. Again, Christian, 61. Christmas, 61. Church, Jesus, cross. It's God in Jewish gematria, or now renamed Latin on this calculator. But 61, just special number. 61 is the 18th prime number. In Jewish numerology, 18 represents the meaning of life. That's why when you turn 18 years old, you get gifts in denominations. You get money gifts in denominations of 18. Numbers divisible by 18. Says at this time, it appears Wycheck fell inside his Chattanooga, Tennessee home and hit his head Saturday morning. So, again, December 8th ends into December 9th. I'd like to know what time in the morning. Probably in the witching hour. Oh, and here's the other big piece about this. Okay, so here, let me scroll down here. Wycheck was drafted in 93. And if you guys go back and watch my video from last year on Saturnalia, I was saying, man, if you guys weren't on Patreon this year and you missed out for Saturnalia, it was a major payday. All the Jesuit basketball schools that could hit 9-3 did on Saturnalia. Just a lot of 93. You remember that crazy game with the Vikings and the Colts? Again, Minneapolis is the 93 city on the 93rd meridian. But just everything was 93 in sports for Saturnalia. And that's because in Gematria, Saturn has this Gematria of 93. That 511 can be very helpful in the NBA. There's been some teams that have done some 511 rituals already this year on Saturdays. But anyway, Saturn has that Gematria 93. Saturnian order has that Gematria 93. And again, you see how it's 69 and 93, just like Saturn, but 93, this all-important Saturn number. Frank Wycheck was drafted in 93, 30 years ago. Saturn's return is 30 years. Notice he was drafted in the 6th round. Saturn is the 6th planet. See how Saturn's also 21? 21 is the 6th triangular number, which means if you add 1 through 6 together, it equals 21. So drafted in the 6th round in 93. Now 30 years later, this death, Saturn's return is related to judgment. The sickle of Saturn is where the Grim Reaper's scythe comes from. So a number we talk about a lot with death. And I think we're this far into the video, and I think I forgot to even make the point that, or no, I did talk about it. He died on the kill date for the month. There's one day a month that has the numerology that corresponds with kill. And also that. So you have this Saturn ritual, something we've talked about a million times, the kill date, just name gematria syncing up with the distance from the birthday. Just all the things that we've looked at over and over in so many of these stories. It's all here again. And again, you have the song Gematria, the killing name, Murder by Numbers. Go read the lyrics to these songs and ask yourself if you think these musicians really made it, or if it came from this same entertainment industry that's controlled by these Kabbalists that do these things. Say, hey, make a song about this. You want another record? We want this on it. And by the way, Slipknot, the band that does Gematria, the killing name, look up the lead singer's recent quote from a month just earlier this year. He said from now on, he will only perform Gematria, the killing name, for the Pope. It's like, what? God, they're trying to tell us. I could even bring up Wycheck being born in 71. That number's so huge right now with the war breaking out in Israel on Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days before the Pope's birthday, when Catholics 71, like Sol Invictus, like Talmud. But yeah, notice, with regards to Saturn in 93, the Titans play the Dolphins tonight, and then they play again on Sunday, December 17th, Saturnalia, the Pope's birthday. But notice how they're going to face the Dolphins. And with regards to Saturn and Titan, the moon of Titan, the largest moon of Saturn is called Titan. Kurt Vonnegut, my favorite author, he has the Sirens of Titan book. But isn't it even funny how Monday Night Football even has the Gematria 93? And actually the 87 now that I think about it. in light of his death of the tight end right before the Titans are in prime time. Nothing will get as blatant as Dick Butkus' death, though. Here, you want to go back and see what the Chicago Bears record became the night that Dick Butkus died? Here's how you'll always remember their record. And we saw this before the game. If you write out Richard Butkus, 787, that's the win number that the Bears picked up. And Dick Butkus is 628. Those are the losses they stayed on. That's what the Bears franchise record became the night that Dick Butkus died. He died right before that primetime game on Thursday Night Football. Justin Fields doing the ads with the Key and Peele guy. Did you see how little of a underdog the Bears were yesterday? It's like, how can they be a tiny underdog against Detroit when Detroit's 9-3 and they're 4-8, and sure enough, they smoked Detroit in the fixed NFL. But Richard Butkus, and by the way, just the math, the Lions got their 105th win against the Bears, which is the 14th triangular number, meaning if you had 1 through 14, it's 105. But anyway, Richard Butkus, Dick Butkus. Bears franchise record after Thursday Night Football, after his death, the day of. And don't forget how, that receiver, can't even think of his name right now. That was a glorious day, though, sadly. Not for Dick Butkus, but for taking advantage of rigged football. So, yeah, they got a game against 9-3, and then the next game's on Saturnalia, and Titan goes with Saturn. And, again, it's just the latest example of a sacrifice from the NFL, synced up with the Pope's birthday, undeniably. And how scripted it all is, you guys. And just to make another point about it being for the Pope, where did he go to high school? Where did Frank Wycheck go to high school? He went to a Catholic school. He went to Archbishop Ryan in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Where did he play at for college? He played at Maryland. Haven't we been talking about all the deaths all year connected to Maryland and the Baltimore Ravens? It's been going on for more than a year now. Started the day that Tony Saragusa died, and what was the other Raven that was dead that day? Jalen Ferguson. And then the final Jeopardy question that same day was about Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, what the Ravens are named after. But Maryland, been talking about it all year. From Philadelphia, we've been talking about how this year the Super Bowl's on the Vatican's 95th birthday, and how Interstate 95 connects Philadelphia and Baltimore, and how Route 95 goes through Las Vegas, where the Super Bowl is. Again, Super Bowl is February 11th. That's going to be the Vatican's 95th birthday. The Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses. This weekend, the most 95 city in America, speaking of, Route 95 from Philly to Baltimore, Matt Stafford stayed on 95 regular season wins, losing in Baltimore in overtime. And, of course, Baltimore won with that, all so familiar 37 in a game against Los Angeles. They also became 4-1 at home. Baltimore became 4-1 at home versus L.A. But Los Angeles, 37, win at 37-31. Another day in the National Fix League. But, it's sick, you guys. And most people just can't comprehend it. How, for the person going, how can you sync up a tornado in a celebrity death? I mean, well, how can't you? How can't you when you have all the information that we have in this world? Weather warfare was admitted to in 1952 on the Jesuit order's birthday. How many years ago was 1952? Was that 71 years ago? There's that 71 again. Like, Wycheck's born in 71, who went to a Catholic school when Catholic's 71. He gets chosen. I mean, there's a big pool of people to choose from in this world of celebrity that they could use for the sacrifice. Every year that these people die, you see why they have the connections, why they made sense for the time. If I didn't say so about Frank Wycheck, again, if you're new here, that 56, that number's huge. The formal title of the Jesuits is Society of Jesus, which is 56. Here's a prominent Jesuit you all know, Anthony Fauci, 56. Remember what he was the face of? Coronavirus, 56. Remember he said go out and get the jabs, COVID vaccine, 56. He told you about Maggie Keenan being the first vaccinated person in the world, 56. And then who'd they say was the second one? William Shakespeare. Literally what they report in the news. The second vaccinated person in the world in the story of COVID was William Shakespeare. Yeah, and Frank Wycheck fell down and hit his head. So, yeah, I'd encourage anyone to come back and read this post because there is more important information here, but I don't want to overdo it. And plus, for all the people that are on Patreon, we got to talk Monday Night Football. So I got to finish up my work there, and we'll start that stream soon. But again, thank you to everyone who does hit the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who does support the work. And RIP to Frank Wycheck. You know, RIP to Steve McNair as well. If you haven't read my first book, Letters and Numbers, Steve McNair's death is in there. That we didn't get the true story in that one either. And again, I got 2 books out there. You can read them in digital format if you prefer, and they are available at my website, GematriaEffect.news. Steve McNair's death is in the chapter Murder by Numbers, which is a chapter that has over 100 pages in it. The book's nearly 800 pages long. But McNair's death is in Letters and Numbers. And Number Games is the more recent book with maybe more pertinent information for the times. And eventually I'll finish my next book. So, again, thank you to everyone for your patience and for supporting the work. And, yeah, Davin, I still got to do all that, and then we'll live stream very soon. And I will post once the notes are updated, and then the live stream will be shortly after. So that's not too far down. But thank you for the super chat as well and for supporting the Patreon. Maryland plays in the Music City Bowl. Wow. Hold on. Is this the Music City Bowl? Oh my God, Auburn at Maryland. Isn't it sick, you guys? I mean, and you think about it. This is our education system. That's and it shows you what runs our education system. I say it like that, like it's new information, but I mean, I was in college when 9/11 happened, and it was just bullshit mania. I was in the accounting program, and Enron happened. I just got to see how bullshit everything was in the world at that moment. They had to rewrite our entire curriculum because of Enron, and I was just like, okay, so what are they teaching us? This, But yeah, what a sick joke, man. His college is in the Music City Bowl right after his death. You know, it's 21 days later, too. 21 days later. And just Saturn. 21, the 6th triangular number. Him drafted in the 6th round in 93. Saturn's 30-year return. Here, there is also a rule with the reduction cipher. It's with S. If there's a S is the 19th letter, and the numerology of 19 is 1 plus 9 is 10, and 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. So it's the only letter that you have to add together 2 times to get to a single digit. 19 becomes 10, 10 becomes 1. Every other letter is just a single compression. So there is a rule that S can be worth, where did he put it? Can be worth 10 instead of 1. Saturn is 30, like the 30-year return. And by the way, in that cipher, Tennessee is also 52. Weather warfare admitted to in 52. He's dead at 52 on the day of the tornado. And by the way, Letters and Numbers, that same book that has the death of Steve McNair, there's a chapter in there on weather warfare, and you'd never guess where it begins. It begins on August 15th, 1952, and how important 52 is to weather warfare rituals, and how by having this knowledge, you can see the ritual that's being performed. Again, if you got here late, just one more thing. Like, here's the thing that well, I don't know. Weather warfare, just a lot of people, it just shuts down their mind instantly because they have no idea about this knowledge. Hold on, where'd Frank Wycheck go? Okay, one more time. Frank Wycheck dies Saturday, the kill date, the day of the deadly tornado in Tennessee when he was a Tennessee Titan. He was part of the Music City Miracle when the Titans beat the Bills. And on the day that his death was announced, which was the day after, Sunday, the day of the football games, Travis Kelce, the tight end like Frank Wycheck, had a big play against the Bills that looked like it won the game for the Chiefs, but it was called back on a penalty, whereas the Music City Miracle was not, even though it should have. And people are making the point today that this penalty they got called for wasn't a game changer, didn't need to be called, whereas the Music City Miracle, the penalty should have been called because Frank Wycheck threw a forward lateral, which should have stopped the play right there instead of it being a game winner. And if you go back and look, 16 seconds were on the clock. They were down 15-16. Tennessee's the 16th state. Last year, the big Tennessee win over Alabama in the 16 ritual. Sweet 16. But okay, on the day of the Frank Wycheck death news, who had this play against the Bills, Travis Kelce, who played the same position as Wycheck, is playing the Bills and has a similar moment in sports history. But Kelce wears 87 like so many tight ends. And again, in Gematria, tight end equals 87, like tornado. And there was a deadly tornado the same day Wycheck died in Clarksville, just outside of Nashville, on the 87th meridian. And if you go back to the day of the Music City miracle where Frank Wycheck threw the forward pass, it was on his 87th day of his age. Now all these years later, and he dies on December 9th, 12-9. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse, tight end's 129 instead of 87, like he died on 12-9. The day of a tornado, a deadly one, on the date that we call the kill date, and that's because the numerology is 44. And in the case of this Clarksville tornado, it was also 44 days before January 22nd, the anniversary of the worst tornado in Clarksville history, which was back in 99, the year before this Music City miracle. So yeah, the 87 piece, you know, you can tell people about weather warfare being admitted to on the Jesuit order's birthday in 52 and him being dead at 52 right before the Pope's 87th birthday, and the Jesuit suppression ending on August 7th in history. Again, if you can get all that in, and we're Pope's 52, and again, the Pope's turning 87. I mean, that'd be the next step, but some people's minds just start to shut down. That's why in that new movie that they put out that the Obamas produced about America getting killed with a cyber attack, bombs going off in New York. Thank you, Obamas, for your first Hollywood movie about the end of America. How nice. It's like they want to applaud all the critics. But throughout that movie, they keep showing you deer that are just like in a trance. And again, that's for the viewer watching it that is like the deer in the headlights. So, hopefully we don't get the Super Bowl 47 rematch, the blackout Super Bowl. Again, this Super Bowl's on 2/11, the 47th prime, the Vatican's birthday, when Vatican equals 47. Like how the first Super Bowl was in the 47th season of the NFL. Like how the 49ers beat the Chargers in 95. And this year, the Chargers fell to 4-7 versus the Ravens. Again, just pay attention to all this stuff they do in the NFL because they are paying tribute to history, and we know how it is. It's just like 9/11, a day that changed everyone's life. 9/11, then came the Patriot Act, and then came the New England Patriots, all of a sudden the greatest football team in history. Football's a big part of the script. Always has been. New Orleans gets flooded, they win their first Super Bowl. Houston Astros get flooded, they win their first World Series. The Saints beat Archie Manning's son. I mean, the jokes are endless, you guys. They should talk about this on Manningcast. Talk about how it's all just a conspiracy theory, how there's nothing behind it. Again, the people who denounce this are truly the lunatics. Go read about weather warfare, August 15th, 52. Read about Operation Popeye in Vietnam. Get back to me. It was a long time ago. How much further do you think they've come with the weather warfare since then? We'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Until next time.